Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. So I want to talk about the Ray movie and the recent nonsense that's been surrounding it. A movie that, as I mentioned on Twitter, is still but a gleam in Bob Iger's Mecco Business Eye 3000. And I mean, right now fans are jumping on everything around this movie, which is wild because we don't really know anything yet, but there's also nothing to discuss in Star Wars, so I kind of get it, but I'm not really going to talk about the past previously litigated issues. I'm not interested. Instead, I want to talk mostly about this new supposed leak from Bespin Bulletin, the reaction, and the counter leaks, I guess, regarding the state of the Ray movie. Anyway, for those who don't know, Bespin Bulletin is a fairly reliable leaker in the Star Wars community. One of the big ones. Like, they don't get everything right, but they certainly do have good sources. And one thing that I appreciate is they're usually pretty honest about how confident they are in material they pass on. One thing that's unique about this situation, though, is that while Bespin Bulletin is getting a lot of attention within the Star Wars community, the actual source of this rumor is a completely different outlet, specifically World of Real. Bespin Bulletin actually does a decent job of analyzing the reputation. They say World of Real isn't known for breaking stories on blockbuster franchises such as Star Wars or Marvel, but they get a lot right with smaller movies. The report shouldn't be written off, but just because an outlet is reliable in one field doesn't mean they are in another. Anyway, World of Reals, who has an unnamed source themselves, said specifically that Disney has delayed the Ray film indefinitely, which is why, and I quote, they surprised everyone last week and decided to announce The Mandalorian and Grogu as the next Star Wars movie. They just don't have confidence that the new Jedi Order will be happening in the near future. The problems seem to reside in creative differences between screenwriter Stephen Knight and Lucasfilm. I'm told a draft had been written, but Lucasfilm gave him so many notes he had to start from scratch. I will note whenever I'm reading a trade publication and they don't get the capitalization of Lucasfilm correct, that's always something that kind of tips me off. He says, however, to make matters worse, there's the possibility that Knight might not be staying on board. His frustrations have grown, so he's put Star Wars on the back burner and is focused on the Peaky Blinders movie. Now, Stephen Knight leaving and the movie just having this state of discombobulation would be a mess, not only because Disney surely envisions this as the next major step in Star Wars storytelling, but also because Stephen Knight is not even the original script writer. As you may remember, Damon Lindelof was initially set to write the film, but he turned in a draft and peaced out. Fan reaction to this news was as you'd expect. There's lots of people who don't like the Ray movie. That's certainly their prerogative. I'm open to it, I'll say, but they celebrated and pointed to this as yet another example of Lucasfilm's failed stewardship of the franchise, at least on the big screen. Part of the issue is no one right now has any reason to believe in Lucasfilm. If you read this report, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. There have been so many departures from Star Wars movies and Star Wars movies which have fallen off into the abyss to never be seen again, that, yeah, it kind of makes sense that another writer would leave, another movie would be shelved indefinitely, and they'd go to Old Faithful, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. So if that was your first response, I get it. I really do. And the reason why I call this situation nonsense is because Disney has no business announcing or talking about these movies. They've gotten to the point where there is no fan goodwill left when it comes to the big screen. They've promised a lot, and so far, every single time since episode 9, they failed to deliver. Did you know the Rogue Squadron movie was not initially set to release, but was delayed to December of 2023? Must have been a pretty low-key thing because I certainly didn't see it. And I just feel like a broken record because each time this happens, I don't really have much else to say. Of course, fans have no faith in the product because you're not delivering. And I'm not talking about the quality, whether you like the Star Wars sequels, Rogue One, Solo, Andor, whatever. The fact of the matter is that they've promised many movies. They've promised entire trilogies, and we've seen nothing yet. Not even a trailer. I think Lucasfilm may actually be aware that they're on somewhat thin ice, at least with hardcore Star Wars fans, as this rumor was immediately slapped down as we saw fairly big publications, including Gizmodo, claiming to have a source directly from Lucasfilm saying, no, production on the film is still going as anticipated. I'll read a quote from the Gizmodo article. You can take the latest Star Wars rumor and throw it in the Sarlacc pit. According to Lucasfilm, a source at the company told IO9 the report is inaccurate, and Knight continues to write and be a part of this process. In fact, the company is waiting on his latest draft as you read this. Even that, however, at the end says, now to be fair, can anyone say with 100% certainty that it's coming out? Of course not. This is Star Wars, and if the last 10 years have taught us anything, it's that until the cameras start rolling, and sometimes not even then, not everything that's announced ends up happening. Anyway, I suspect we will have some more information today, so I may have to edit something into the end of today's video. Marmar, if you're editing this and the news changes, flash something on screen right now. But Daniel RPK, Dan Richmond, he's known for his leaks, has also said that no, the movie is continuing production, pre-production anyway, as expected. I can't say that I'm particularly confident or worried. I feel apathy at this point. Anyway, there was a little bit of other news the past couple of days regarding movies and TV series, and that's the fate of The Mandalorian Season 4. I briefly mentioned this earlier, but my initial assumption is that The Mandalorian movie is sort of going to remove the possibility for a Season 4. However, various major news outlets came in and said, nope, Season 4 does still seem to exist. However, the latest news is from The Hollywood Reporter, which says that Lucasfilm was previously intending to do a Season 4. However, during the writer's strike, things changed, and now the movie may either be replacing or supplanting Season 4, with some rumors even being that Season 4 would be a run-up to the movie and would perhaps be fewer episodes. I don't know. My hope, and maybe this is unconventional, is that Season 4 sort of serves as the emotional apex for The Mandalorian and Grogu's journey. They do the big thing they've been set out to do from the beginning, but that doesn't need to be the end of their story. I do think that Star Wars, as I mentioned again in a prior video, has room for a slower, more Western type of story, whether that's The Mandalorian and Grogu, just The Mandalorian. I don't know. Make it a bit pulpier, make them running into interesting characters. Keep it, somewhat connected to the real world, but you don't need The Mandalorian aiming his incinerator rifle at Palpatine as he's being reborn on Exegol. Just my thoughts though. Let me know yours, of course, on everything down below.